That type of attention-seeking behavior is narcissism.
Would you like to see my mask? I use it in my experiments.
In Batman Begins, the Scarecrow is one of the most terrifying of villains.
These crazies, I can't stand it.
A sadist in the position of power.
Which is your name?
We meet the Scarecrow as a doctor at Arkham Asylum. He's used that entrusted place to experiment with chemicals and drugs. He enjoys watching people's minds completely snap as a result of the use of it.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Scarecrow uses fear as a tool to ultimately get what he wants, independent of what it might cost others. This is an individual generally not psychotic, but very intense, and their need to self-aggrandize.
A individual like the Unabomber, Theodore Kaczynski, part of his delusions is that mechanization and modernization is ruining the world, and takes it upon himself to send bombs to computer scientists, professors. He became vengeful. I'm going to take it out on society, and thus becomes this murderous, crazy person.
Eventually, each Batman villain ends up, however briefly, in Arkham Asylum, Gotham's institute for the criminally insane. But do villains like Scarecrow and Two-Face truly meet the legal definition of insanity?
In every psychiatric text that's published, you will find nowhere on any of its pages the word insane. Because insane is a legal, not a clinical term. And here's the best example of why the public can be so confused. Jeffrey Dahmer. How can a person who kills his victims, cuts them up, has their heads in the freezer, not be crazy? And yet, he did not meet the test of insanity in Wisconsin. The test for insanity is knowing that the act was wrong and not having the ability to conform behavior. He doesn't meet that test. He did it because he wanted to.
While most Batman villains operate under the influence of some form of psychosis, one rival is completely in control of her faculties. The whip-wielding jewel thief Selina Kyle, also known as Catwoman. Over the years, Batman and Catwoman have had a complicated on-again, off-again relationship. But Catwoman's villainous nature hasn't stopped Batman from pursuing her for reasons other than her crimes.
Catwoman is one of the few people in the world who wouldn't be in the kind of danger your average woman would be with Batman. She's as dangerous as he is. So he found someone who's kind of his equal.
Batman's well known to have had a dalliance, and more than a dalliance, with Catwoman. They have an affinity and a lot in common in terms of dressing up and jumping off rooftops. But ultimately, Catwoman, while not a terrible person, crosses a line that Bruce Wayne and Batman don't cross. Batman still operates within a moral code that's quite strict. So this is the challenge for Catwoman and Batman, as attractive as she is in all of her incarnations. He cannot accept her because even as lines between right and wrong are gray, he still sees those lines and he won't cross them.
Lust, greed, revenge, and a hunger for attention are all compulsions that can lead a human being into a life of crime. But the Dark Knight's deadliest enemy is perhaps the most difficult to fathom.
Armed robbery, double homicide. Got a taste for the theatrical like you.
And to unlock his secrets requires a journey into the ultimate heart of darkness.
A year ago, these cops and lawyers wouldn't dare cross any of you. I mean, what happened?
So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
Of all the evildoers in Batman's universe, none is more explosive or unpredictable than the homicidal nemesis known simply as the Joker.
Come on, hit me!
He represents a kind of chaos, of meaninglessness, of randomness, the idea of the character of the Joker, just the luck of the cards.
Here's my card.
Introduced by DC Comics in 1940, the Joker initially had no backstory. Over the years, several versions of his history have been written, describing the character's maniacal metamorphosis. One involves a tragedy, in which the Joker fell into a vat of chemicals and became disfigured as a result. The accident not only changed his appearance, but also twisted his mind.
You don't know what makes him tick. Maybe he won't kill you, maybe he'll hand you a $1,000 bill. He'll probably kill you, but you can't be sure. So in that way, he's a perfect villain for Batman.
Most characters can justify the terrible things they do as, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this because the world hates me, I'm doing this because... pick an answer. The Joker does it because I'm as nutty as a squirrel, and I'm proud of that.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with.
Evening, Commissioner.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Most criminals are motivated by the desire to gain greater wealth or gain greater power.
Les, I have kids to feed. Well, you don't like falafel?
Or to exact some form of revenge. There's a clear motivation which is understandable for what's prompting their behavior. In the case of somebody who's mentally ill, you can't necessarily predict what they're going to do because their motivations are not the normal ones.
For example, an individual such as John Hinckley, who believed amidst his psychosis and narcissism that if he were to assassinate the President of the United States, Jodie Foster would fall in love with him. You see quickly where the logic in that line of thought falls apart.
Why so serious?
And the Joker has an agenda of chaos. He's a unique villain in that he is not even necessarily after money or power or any of those traditional things. So that's really the hardest kind of evil to fight because you can't bargain with it.
Well, hello, beautiful.
In The Dark Knight, the battle between Batman and the Joker is taken to the ultimate level.
A little fighting here. I like that.
Then you're gonna love me.
I always felt, as Batman, that there was a great curiosity about this Joker because he hadn't come across anybody like him before. This is another character, like himself, who will not compromise whatsoever.
I think the Joker is the logical response to a character like Batman. Partly because Batman, having raised this extremity of behavior in Gotham, he's putting on a mask, tapping into people's fears, and there's all of the technology he employs. He's distinguishing himself to fight crime.
Now there's a Batman.
And that immediately raises the question of, is he prepared to go outside the law? How far is he prepared to bend the rules?
They are dark reflections of each other. They're both men who operate outside of normal social norms. They're both highly talented, highly gifted at what they do. So they have a lot in common.
Every yin has a yang, every positive has a negative. Batman is sane and logical, uses his mind to solve problems and solve crimes, and the Joker is a complete raving lunatic.
Batman says philosophically, we can acknowledge an imperfect world, we can acknowledge that we have to step outside of social norms, but that doesn't make the social norms meaningless. The Joker says the presence of random injustice means that there is no justice.